baby. My God, it's getting to that point of time where you love Spokane again, ain't it?
I don't know if I go that far.
No? Dude, we got the sun shining into the living room. Like,
No, it is pretty nice.
Oh, dude, it's good. But we're still in, we're still in the March, April. That's when we're going to get all 4 seasons and all that stuff.
Right.
So, all right, man, like everyone I'm talking to's got an opinion. The Michael Bay TMNT trailer came out. What were your thoughts, man?
It wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. It's weird seeing Shredder white.
Yeah.
Doesn't make a lot of sense, but I'm sure that'll in the plot it'll be resolved. I don't know. They look kind of weird, which is, I mean, it didn't, that's one of those things about franchises I really like. It's like when they change, it's so hard to be like, to be anywhere near not biased about the changes they do make. So it's like, fucking, why is it like this? And,
especially
there's no cowabunga in the trailer.
Well, yeah, you got to have cowabunga. That, and you notice that they made sure to show Michelangelo, like they made sure to have turtle dialogue. Yeah. So you understood, like, yeah, Michelangelo's still Michelangelo. But no, like, that's totally something that happens, especially whenever you do something that's comic-based or cartoon-based, is changing the look so you could do it in real life and it looks believable that this thing exists, but at the same time making it recognizable. Like these turtles, like the Michelangelo show, yeah, I mean, it's a lot smoother. It looks realistic, but at the same time, they kind of look like bulldogs, dude.
A little bit. People are saying like Voldemort
having no nose and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like, like it looks like it's like, all right, we're forming these turtles and we're just going to put our palm on their nose.
All right, we're going to smash these clay like replicas and
exactly.
call it a day. I don't know. I think it looks okay. I'm excited to see it. It's turtles, I don't really like Michael Bay all that much, but fuck, it's Ninja Turtles.
I've gotten to the point where it's not jaded, but I'm detached. Probably with Transformer thing, and just because everything nowadays is an adaptation of something awesome from your childhood or something that you liked because it was so fantastical, whether it's comic books and stuff like that, that I've learned to like not being so invested. Like, you went and destroyed the turtle. Like, oh, okay, you're doing a Michael Bay turtle movie. There's going to be explosions and buildings being destroyed. That's the first thing you see, in the trailer. Like, cool. If it sucks, whatever. That's still what it was to me. And honestly, like, the only people I could see really getting super, like, sucked into it, like, oh, don't mess it up, it's got to be right, is, God, idiots or teenagers. What are the two? Like, basically, because it's like, what to expect here.
Well, I don't think a lot of teenagers have actually seen the Turtles.
That's what I'm thinking, because the age group.
They won't know, and so it's cool that it's like a new thing to them, Or I'm not saying not every teenager hasn't seen the Turtles, but probably the large majority don't understand why there's such an affinity for it, and like how good the first movie was, and the second one wasn't bad.
See, I was told not to ever watch those again, that they don't hold up.
I think I've watched the first one, not like maybe within a year, and it's good. It's still, I still like it.
I told it's like you can straight up see zippers.
You have to be looking pretty hard, but I think it was cool that the suits were articulated enough where the martial artists that were in them it did amazing shit for back then. I thought it's still like the fighting still comes out pretty cool.
Really?
And then, in the second, there's just some really funny shit like in the beginning where Donatello's pushing that inflatable clown. He's like, yeah, and like that shit is goofy. It's just
I mean, the second one's forever immortalized in my life. Like, it was one of those things where this memory has been blocked out of my head until I was probably about like 25, 26.
Go Ninja?
Bingo. Someone just like, go ninja raps. And like that whole movie, first of all, it was awesome because it's like mutations of stuff and all that.
Right.
But the whole movie could have been garbage and it'll forever be brilliant because of Go Ninja raps. I mean, it defines a generation, my friend.
Well, what's funny to me? What's funny is that those like the animals. So it's a turtle and a dog, right? They turn into.
Yeah.
And the fact that they come out retarded is just so fucking funny because they didn't have the tutelage of Master Shredder, so they're just like I just
Well,
thought that
exactly
was the funniest thing.
that,
Just be
and
like,
I mean,
"Rrr,"
you
don't
know,
what's
I
going on.
always expect Baxter's things to come out a little screwy.
Right.
That's how it rolls. I don't have. I'm sorry,
Mutant ooze
Baxter
isn't
friends.
a known
I do
known
not
quantity.
have the most faith in Baxter's scientific method. I think it might
Yeah.
be kind of flawed.
I think so too.
I think he may not do the really pay attention to keeping the variables out. I think a
Mhm.
lot of variables.
It's really
Go-
poor science on his part.
Exactly. Awesome action, terrible science.
That movie, I don't know. I really do. When fucking Super Shredder comes out, he's like busting through the docks.
Dude, I was so stoked for that.
And then he,
I
like,
remember,
ended up
I
dying
remember
really
gripping
quick,
my
right?
theater seat, like, oh, just because it's like, oh my god, it's gonna be worse than Shredder.
Well, what did
I
they
was one of
collapse the dock on him, and then what happens after that?
They collapse the dock on him. I want to say, don't barrels explode, or are you talking about when he becomes in like it oozes
Super
on him?
Shredder. He's Super Shredder under the dock. I
Yeah,
think, right?
exactly.
And
That's
then
before.
and then they collapse it on him, and then the turtles are floating in the water. I remember that they're in their shells and they each like pop up in the water, and that's after they collapse it, and then you see an arm come out and just kind of die on the rubble. Maybe I
That
think that
might
was
be.
it. I think that is.
You're pulling. You know better than me. You're pulling a year ago. I'm pulling from like 20 years ago. So.
Oh no, I haven't seen 2 in a while. I just watched it 1,000 fucking times.
Really?
Yeah, I had all the toys. I had every VHS tape. I had fucking. I was on it.
Nice.
I had,
All the toys. That's a lot of.
I
Goddamn.
had seriously
that was
a
the
lot
first-
of Ninja Turtle toys.
I was there for the Star Wars thing, but that was the first thing I remember of like something I liked just getting hoard out like a son of a bitch.
Yeah, it was on
Where
everything.
it's like, oh, dude, you're gonna have fucking turtle tidy whiteys
I had
and
all
your
that
turtle,
shit.
yeah, your
I got a
turtle
picture.
sheets.
I get turtle fucking I have a Ninja Turtle belt on. I have
Nice.
Ninja Turtle slippers on.
Check.
I have a Ninja Turtle
Oh,
shirt
the,
on.
the slippers were like their faces, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. I was gonna
I
get those,
shoved
but all
my
they had
feet.
was Michelangelo's, and I didn't want Michelangelo's.
I think I have Michelangelo's.
Yeah.
I have the picture still. I'm gonna. Check
I thought
it
he
out.
was played out, and I thought he was played out and never gonna get anywhere.
well,
it's like,
check out-
do you know what? Focus. You got these goddamn robotic ninjas on your ass. You need to get your mind off pizza
Right.
for a second. At least Raphael gets pissed enough to be focused into what he's doing.
They have to maintain a lot of calories doing all that. You know.
They do.
So that's where the pizza.
Like, what do you
comes in,
think
I
they're doing? They're burning probably like what 1,800, 2,000 calorie days.
Oh, way more than that. I think.
Yeah?
I think I mean,
Like-
all that karate probably like.
Are they in
Probably like
Alaska?
10,000 calories a day for a turtle. I'm
Yeah?
not sure. Well, they're cold-blooded, so their metabolism is probably pretty slow. I don't know.
That's one thing I think they
Let's get
need to address is like, where do the
some turtle
turtles go and sunbathe? Because
Yeah.
they got to get that sunbathe in if they're going to keep it going.
Well, that's why they wear knee pads, is to keep the heat in, I think.
You think so?
Yeah, that's why they wear the bandana.
That's the bands. Well, no, because it keeps it warm around their head,
Mhm.
so they're still
I
rocking.
think that's been proven already. There's already Bill Nye had a thing on that.
Did you
It's
really?
going to be on the next episode of Cosmos.
I
which
hope.
was
So. I
yesterday.
hope to God.
It's going to be in there in the past.
they have like the little animation of the creator coming up with
Yeah.
it. What was he thinking as he looked up into the stars?
A fucking violet ooze in the air, spinning in slow motion,
Mhm.
breaking, and turtles.
Like the world
erupting
is
out of
such an amazing place, and with man there, we could turn turtles into man
it. Right?
and make them one of us.
They will be our overlords. No, I think that shit is. I don't know. I like some Ninja Turtles. I thought that was pretty cool. That scene on the snowy slopes where there's Donatello, Hux, fucking Michelangelo at that truck or whatever.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool.
Well, you could definitely tell they knew they had prerequisites they had to do, which was like because Michael Bay, it's like you have to show the scale of it,
Right.
the scale of the danger, and they knew they had to show. All right, we're gonna put Megan Fox in here, but she's not gonna she's gonna be hot still, but she's not gonna look like a Carl's Jr. ad because Carl Jr.'s ad Megan Fox want to work for April O'Neil. Show that they
Right.
can make her sexy but tone her down. Check.
I don't know. I really just don't.
Oh, dude, he's
I think Megan Fox is pretty, but it's just. I don't know.
That's
There's
just
something about
that's just one of Michael Bay's players. So he's gonna throw his player in there, just like Tarantino. He'll find a role for Samuel L. Jackson.
No, for
He'll
sure.
he'll
but,
figure that shit out. And I mean, he went with
but
it.
Megan Fox is no Samuel Jackson, you know.
No,
It's just
she's
like
not.
Megan Fox is
Oh,
just-
and no
just
way do
sexy.
I think Michael Bay is a Tarantino.
No, exactly.
Like what you're going.
It's like just
it's
like
like you got
the
people to go. Like in
the
the same way that
other end of the
Tarantino.
spectrum in terms of directors and their player. Like I understand what you're
Yeah,
saying.
yeah. Like like when
what you
Tarantino
get.
masters with like comedy and action and looking like a badass out of nowhere, Michael Bay deals with things that are in no way rooted in the real world. that are larger, completely Hollywoodized, and thus is Megan Fox.
And he seems to be hunting down things from that I love from being 6 years old and
Because he knows
them.
it's gonna sell, dude.
But why is he trying to sell to like the 27-year-old me now?
Because
like, he's trying to sell the. He's trying to
you're
sell
a demographic, bitch.
I know they got me down. They got me.
Like because they know because they know that's one of the biggest trends that's been going over 10 years. And you could go make the argument that like the retro thing's always there. We're always looking at stuff and pulling back more so than any ever, especially with Facebook and all that. Like how many times you get a picture of it's like, if you remember this, your childhood was the shiznit.
Yeah, I fucking hate that.
They know everyone holds that stuff close to heart because we were raised in this like commercial thing and that was our shit,
right.
you know? And so they're going off on it.
Well, see, it's one of those things. That's why Metal Gear is cool. Is the same dude's been doing it for fucking 20 years.
Brilliant. Greatest Metal Gear segue ever.
I'll always make a segue into it.
Yeah.
He's been no, seriously, that guy's been killing it and keeping the property to yourself. He gets lent out once in a while, like the Metal Gear Rising.
Well, that's the
or
biggest thing.
Revengeance.
Control your work.
Yeah, and you know, as soon as it gets out of your hands, like I don't know, there's times where it happens where it's good, like 300, and I hear sequel's good, and it's like,
I'm scared of that sequel.
Uh-huh.
I'm scared of that sequel.
Yeah, and you know.
That and like, you know, 300 was kind of like cocaine for me. This is one of those things where it's like, okay, cool. Oh yeah, this is wild, exciting, and it's gone, and I'm just gonna stay away from it.
Right.
Like I ain't gonna touch it. Like
I do it on
see
my
it
birthday
again,
and
like,
Christmas, and that's it. Like,
yeah.
Only time I watch 300.
Exactly. If I'm with some good friends, you know,
I do cocaine on Christmas,
and I don't have to work the next day. You know, we'll put a couple lines from 300 in.
Right.
Exactly. It's like this is Sparta, bitch.
I sit in my robes, all out of shape, fucking with my
yeah. Well, no,
Spartan
it costs me so
hat.
much money though because I have to buy new doors the next day because
Right,
it's like every door you get to you got to kick that bitch in.
Seriously, it's an expensive habit.
Yeah, that's how you. I mean,
it's worse than that.
You have to go 100 when you're living 300.
Yeah, that's true. You got to raise the bar
exactly
for yourself and others, I think.
Yeah, that's another big thing I've made my stance on this week. The stupidest phrase I witnessed in my life is the term 100 because it's an oxymoronic phrase. Like, how you doing? Because no one says going 100. So I'm living 100. Really? You're living so 100 you can't even say 100? You're being lazy on saying you're going 100. That's fucking 35% at best. I go 100.
Proper pronunciation, yeah.
That's not 100 at all.
I'm going 1.
What?
100. Like, I have no idea. I know this shit is like saying it all sloth and shitty. Like,
yeah, you're talking about going the max extent, but you don't go the max extent with your language. Who the fuck do you think you are?
It's like you asking me, like, "Hey, are you feeling?" I'm like, "I'm feeling great." Like,
yeah, I can really. Are you
like
being?
You're feeling great?
Are you being sarcastic?
Yeah, maybe that is. Maybe going 100 is I'm just way above my head.
That may be my new shit. If I see someone do something slap ass, it's like you might want 100 on that.
Yeah.
Or if I just like kill something, be like 100.
I do it sarcastically and satirically, and that's what I'm bringing to the table. I do it with most things. I'm just kind of fucking around. Trying to be the enigma.
Yeah.
Does he mean?
I noticed that. I'll go get into something. Go ahead and completely master it just so I can get to the part where, cool, I could do it without having to put the same focus in.
Oh, did you hear about the Dumb and Dumber? I guess there's a screener for like media people, and it's supposed to be pretty funny.
Oh yeah, they already did it. Is it one of these? Is it going to be summer?
I don't know if it's summer or Christmas. I could see like tying in the Lloyd Christmas thing or whatever, but
yeah.
No, they said it's actually pretty funny though. Like it opens up and it just feels like the Fairley Brothers killed it. They nailed that old flavor down, and so
the thing I'm excited is like, it's probably just like a reflection on me, not really them. Is like the first one. It's like, oh, Jim Carrey, and this time it's like I'm way more excited about Jeff Daniels getting back into this role this time.
I'm excited to see both of them. It's gonna be it's gonna be so fucking goofy just seeing how old they are.
Right.
The trailer opens, and this is a spoiler, I guess, because the trailer isn't out yet, but
Do it.
it opens in it's fucking
Inside information.
what's his face is not Lloyd. What's his name? I forget. Harry.
Yeah.
Harry's in an insane asylum, and it's been 20 years, and Lloyd's there to see him. And Lloyd goes into the cell, and he says something, and then Harry looks up at him, and he's like, "Gotcha!" And like it's just been a setup like for 20 years. And this, like
he goes
he says
home
something.
after?
Lloyd says something really sensitive, like, "I wish you would just talk to me. Like, are you like, this is crazy?" And he's like, "Gotcha!" And he just, he's very much still in character, and it's
Hell
fucking
yes.
supposed to be pretty great.
Hell yeah, dude.
I heard there's some dirty things in it too, from what I've heard. Like,
Well, yeah. Well, they go and ride that line. That and the line's been pushed aside, so
well, I mean,
we'll see.
Like something about Harry eating out an old lady.
Of course,
So,
of
like,
course.
That's gonna be in this movie. So prepare yourselves.
See, that's
There's
something
nothing
you gotta.
that
That's something you have to warn. Like that happens so often with so many comedies where like it's better. We're like God, and of course, for the life of me, I can't think of an example of like a good there's something about Mary where it's like everyone talks to you and it's like, dude, and there's a zipper scene. You may want to look away. That's all I'm gonna say. Or like Hostel. It's like it's great, but when the I think comes up, like watch out. It's gonna be there, and it's like not even a spoiler. It's like, okay, this is awesome. All right, I see what they're doing, and and there's that shit, and there's white shit coming out of that chick's eye socket,
Right. Yeah,
and I'm back into the
disgusting.
movie. It didn't ruin it for me. Cool.
It
Yeah.
didn't ruin it for me. Symbol, because that's, I think, a joke, because that movie's horrible.
Hostel?
I thought it was so
Dude.
It's so shitty.
Dude, I think the reason I liked Hostel was I got way too deep into it.
Yeah.
Where it's like one of those things where it's like, dude, first of all, that and like I thought there was deepness into it because like, did you notice the director from Ichi the Killer's in there?
Is he?
Yeah, he's the Japanese guy. He walks up, he's like, there are things you pay millions of dollars to see.
Oh, okay.
And his whole thing was like this whole super violence concept that was huge at the time. But no, I was way too deep into it. Like, because I'm watching it, I'm like, wait a second. The whole thing is, first of all, okay, cool. They obeyed the horror movie rule. The amount of nudity is directly proportional to how gruesome they're going to be later. They followed that one pretty good. And two, it's like, wait a second. It's this movie about how all these people are terrible because they're paying all this money for terrible things to happen to people, and they watch it and enjoy it. And aren't we doing the same thing?
True.
Like we're paying for violence. Like if you went to go see that movie, you went to see it not just because like, ooh, I want to see a scary movie, but you knew this movie was as gnarly as it got. Right. And they went and tried to go up to the very limit of like how many seconds of this injury you can show and how much blood you can have in that when they made it. So It's like, all right, they're making a microcosm thing. And so that made it good for me. It's all super deep bullshit where it's just like, whatever. But
no, I agree. I think there's something to be said. I just tend to not really like ultra violent shit.
Yeah, I got burned out on it. Like I think the last one that was ultra violent that I absolutely loved was either the Kill Bill series or 300. I think after that it's like cool. It's happened enough to where it's become cliche to me.
Right. Well, I didn't even. Yeah, no. I guess Kill Bill is pretty violent. I think that.
Well, 1, 2, they went more with the Western
with
thing.
the eyeball is probably the nastiest thing, or all the
Yeah, but I mean,
limbs.
1, you have fountains of blood.
Yeah, no, true.
For a comedic effect. Yeah.
They're both pretty fucking gnarly.
Yeah. So, what do you think about this Oculus thing, man?
I mean, I think it's gonna be good. I think that people are freaking out about it, and I understand that some people.
Well, what freak out stuff have you heard about it?
Well, like even like Notch, the guy that made Minecraft, basically was like, well, since it got bought by Facebook, I think they're kind of fucking creepy, so Minecraft's not going to Oculus.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and then there's but
that guy is also like a growing minority, of the gaming world, that private gaming world.
Well, not really. Like,
you don't think so?
No, I think that he voiced a concern because of how shady people perceive Facebook to be in terms of their policies towards privacy and things like that.
Yeah.
And I can understand like the hesitance. I can be like, that doesn't sound
Okay. I
because
wasn't
where
thinking
it
about it from that
originated with the
perspective.
Kickstarter, where they met and exceeded the goal that they were trying to reach. There was a lot of people that wanted this to happen, and the guy that makes it is incredibly passionate. Like you could tell that he wasn't just going to sell it and run away. Like he's still a part of the team. You know, they still got Carmack and stuff. And you know, I think people freak out because it is Facebook, and Facebook is to some extent becoming less.
They're becoming more. Their activities are more and more questionable as per
Yeah.
what information they give up to people. Like you said, just the lack of privacy in
They're
it.
trying to get more integrated. Like, you know, it's one of the things is like people are yelling, well, this is bad, this is bad. We've never really gone through a time like this in terms of you are giving your information over to a corporation and you're giving vast amounts of it. You know, you're not just giving your name and your address. You're giving pictures of you and like things you've said. You're giving a lot of your personality,
Your history, where you're
Right.
at, what you've
So
been doing.
you're giving all this company, and so when things that do happen that really infringe upon people's privacy, I can understand the uproar, and and likewise I can understand because they have had these problems in the past. Like, you know, every year there's something.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
And-
they give up their they give up their records to PDs. That's a known thing.
Right.
Like actually, I think it was an NPR thing where they're talking about, you know, tracking street level drug offenders and stuff like that, and how,
Right.
like, basically we don't even go out no more. We check people's Facebook. These dumbasses will put pictures of themselves with the gun and the drugs.
Right.
Now we know you. Now we know your circle because of your friends and all this. And then we're going to and we can go and get the backlogs from Facebook of all the stuff that's gone down,
Right.
you know, have access to your profile, and we'll have your ass in about a week.
Yeah,
you know.
no, I mean, and I think that it's good that people that are doing nefarious things are being able to be tracked quicker.
It's a
and
good
stuff.
example, but it's just, I think the biggest thing with we didn't think it was going to go down like this. I mean,
do you
when
mean?
we were looking at, you know, when you're first reading 1984 and before all these technologies came up and this topic came up about, yeah, you have no privacy and stuff like that, we didn't think it would go down like this. At least in my head, it was one of those things where you think like, man, this is going to be a big topic and it's going to be on the table and people may protest against it and stuff like this. When really how it happened is, oh, you're on the site goes public, all that stuff. And well, you put an agreement at the beginning, that fucking user agreement, which like everyone just clicks through because it's all this shit
And
that's
so
on there.
it's inherently their fault, like
And
the person's fault.
and you just now all of a sudden you just hear from this that, you know, they're using this stuff or that. It just came overnight, you know.
No,
It was never one of those
in your
things.
Google search bar that, like, you know, and you see the advertisements that are directed at you. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know how much people really mind. You know, like it's
That, and there's sometimes it's good. Like I
What's-
found a couple, you know, like cool
Oh, yeah,
clothing
yeah.
companies or shit like that.
well, people get worried too that you know, kind of it's funny how it mirrors what the NSA's been doing in terms of like the NSA's doing this, you know, incredibly expansive surveillance operation on the United States and the rest of the world, and how like I've talked to a lot of people that just simply don't give a shit. They're like, I'm not doing anything bad, I don't care, and they don't, you know, maybe they don't care or realize like the impact of it. And I think they're probably the same people that don't really give a shit when Facebook is like dicking around with their information because they're like, I'm not doing anything wrong. I don't care if they know. They don't.
Well,
I
I
don't
mean,
think
we're
they see
just so
the-
much in the bubble. I mean, like, we're given a pacifier, dude, of just like the shit we worry about in life and stuff like that. It's such a pacifier where it puts you in this little micro world.
But really,
So
how
you
much does it affect you though? Like, I mean, like when I think about the
And
NSA
the
spying on me
NSA
right now,
stuff?
beyond like me, Andrew Howe, Spokane, Washington, fucking being tracked or my conversations and stuff recorded. I think about that. Like, I don't like them infringing upon my privacy. Like, the fact that I'm not doing anything wrong isn't the issue. It's that they're looking at it, right or wrong. You don't have that. You know, you don't have the authority to fucking survey everyone. Like, I'm sure if you know, like, fucking Doug Benny is doing some horrible shit, then you fucking follow that guy.
Well, that, and I mean, it goes against, first of all, it's an ethical thing, and two, it goes against everything. I mean, it goes against
I
US.
think I'm pretty sure
It
you
goes
know you
against
need
who
a
we are.
warrant to survey people like
Ex-
that, right?
Yeah,
So
exactly.
did they
Well,
get
that's the whole
fucking?
thing.
They get 500 million
It's
warrants.
rewriting the Constitution. It's rewriting the rules. I mean, that's the issue.
But there's a lot, and a lot of it's taken from like the Patriot Act and shit, right? Like it's all
Yeah, stuff
kind
like
of
that.
propagated on its shoulders.
You know, and like I said, it was one of those things where in your head you always sit there thinking like, this is going to be the question of, all right, are we going to do this? But they played it, I hate to say it, but they played it the right way, which is, I forget what it's from, whether it's Simpsons or an action movie or some shit like that. It's always easy to ask for forgiveness than it is permission. And it just comes up like, oh, no, it's been happening.
Oh, yeah. No,
your life's not different now. It's not different, right? So why do you care? It's the same, right? It's been happening. And when people, and that's what I was saying, like, we didn't think it would go down like this. When that happens, it's so much easier just because you haven't noticed any effect to just let it slide and stuff like that. And it's not because of a point that, well, I'm doing something wrong or I don't want it to be seen, or what you're saying. Like, my issue with it is just like, I almost feel like it takes away a piece of identity. You know, it takes away a piece of identity by not having that privacy. And look at all the things you do in life to either give you your privacy or kind of
let's see that
govern how you are in the world. And now it's gone. Now you're just.
What sounds to me like the same. I kind of understand what you're saying, but that's like saying like a picture takes your soul to me. Like that's like equivalent in terms of like, I don't think it only. It's everybody's got an idea of who you are, right? Their idea is more geared towards the mathematical probability that you're going to buy something and the adverts that you need to see. Whereas like, that's how they look at me. And you know, do I give a shit like how like what you're saying? Like maybe these advertisements are better suited and I'm not going to be bombarded by fucking maxi pads and shit like that because I'm going to be given stuff that I might potentially want to buy. You know, it's the idea that being looked at as a consumer by a corporation makes sense to me. Like, I don't expect them to be like, oh, yeah, this is fucking Andrew's shit. We don't want to show anybody that. Like, they're of course they want to. They want to make sure that I get fucking, you know, they could sell things. They want to make sure they could sell things. And that's okay. Like, some people that see me on the street that fucking have ads, like they're holding, you know, like just ads on signs or people like dancing around, flipping a fucking Domino's board around. Like they're doing the same thing inherently. They assume I like pizza. You know, they're just shouting to people. Like, I don't know.
And they assume right in my case.
Right? I'm a fucking pizza fiend.
Love me a slice.
I don't. You know, it really comes down, and what we were talking about was the Oculus, right? So, how much does this impact me? Like, I think that it having more money behind it will probably lead to it being cheaper when it comes to market. I think they were probably in trouble because they hadn't come to market yet. It will definitely come to market sooner, and depending on what they decide to do with some forms of integration, like who they're going to allow to have the SDK, and who are they gonna, you know, allow make software for it now? I know they want to, you know, they want the quickest return on their investment as possible. So they had I think $1.6 million in stock, and then $400 million in cash.
Yeah,
you know, not cash in like show briefcases or nothing, but that's a lot of money, and that's just what they got paid. I'm thinking about the money that they're gonna dump into Oculus to make it affordable to get, you know, huge subsidies in terms of.
It's going to be a similar number.
So maybe they can make it cheaper, you know. Maybe they can get more Oculuses in more people's hands. But the thing that I think people miss are like Instagram was purchased by them, right? And Instagram hasn't really changed at all. I just got an Instagram, and I don't see beyond like the liking thing and the ability to have those Facebook and Instagram integrate in terms of like pictures that are uploaded on either will be uploaded on either. I think that's about the only time I ever see Facebook on it. I could have an Instagram and delete my fucking Facebook, and it hasn't really changed. It's probably only gotten better. They still have like the best like photo stabilization I've seen.
And honestly, like besides companies that are competitors, like why would you really want to? I mean, you're buying something because it's being successful. So keep it in the form that it's successful the most. Right. Little things like you're saying integration and stuff like that. Yeah, that's great. But I mean, unless you're buying a company to go and like take out a competitor or something like that, like really why change it? The best thing is keep it afloat, give them the tools they need to maybe improve it, go the next step and stuff like that. I mean, that's kind of basic smart investment and stuff like that. The thing I thought was interesting was just the fact that it was Facebook. I mean, that was we've gone off on we've gone off on Oculus Rift a couple of times about the possibilities of it, and it was one of those things where I realized that possibility for it by them buying. Like, yeah, I mean, goddamn, like, talk about video chat. If you're able to go and do this Rift chat, where you can go talk to a person, you know, your loved one across the globe or something like that, in that sort of setting, that's pretty cool for that. For what you're trying to do. That's a really cool medium. I get that.
Well, I think that could have, and see, the thing is that all of that could have happened in a more open environment, and that's what people are pissed off about. Is that it could have happened.
Facebook was being smart and knowing, like, we're going to be the ones profiting off this.
Other people haven't, you know, it's funny because this happened like roughly a day or two after GDC, where Sony displayed their new VR, Project Morpheus. And
how's that looking?
It's cool. The thing with Oculus, though, is that it was going to be a more high-end idea, like in terms of like the resolution, trying to get rid of pixels, like, or the appearance of pixels, doing the wider field of view. Those things were what were really enticing about the Oculus, and Sony's doing a really good job in terms of their head tracking and stuff. They don't have as wide a field of view. I think it's 90 degrees, where the Oculus was like 120 or something like that, or higher. So, like, the Oculus really wrapped around your whole vision, where this is more akin to wearing, like, you have about the
headset.
Yeah, I mean, you have a very definite break in the image. And then there's a lot of other companies that are coming out with VR headsets. This isn't going to be something that the Oculus, because the Oculus got purchased, if it wasn't successful, that there wasn't going to be anything else VR that's out. It's like, it's got plenty of competition, and so it's only more fucking fire under the ass of Facebook to make sure it's a successful thing and that people want it. I think it's going to be a lot easier to market to people that didn't know what it was, because I don't think a lot of people did before this happened.
Yeah.
I think it's been in the news way more, because anything that Facebook buys is like, holy shit. And I think that VR is going to be really, really popular in a couple of years, and I think that a $2 billion investment is a fucking good deal. And I think that in like a couple of years, fucking Zuckerberg's going to be rubbing his hands, and I don't know.
Well, I mean, it's it's a product that if this succeeds and you're buying it with a chance of giving it more chance to succeed, yes. If this succeeds and is what it's supposed to be, yeah, it's a complete game changer.
Right.
Like, I mean, it's like invention of the TV game changer.
And I think there's a big deal with Facebook trying to remain relevant, where a lot of people have been looking at Facebook and thinking it's losing relevancy with things like Twitter being more prevalent. I guess there's been a drop in they don't want to become MySpace. They don't want to
Facebook.
Yeah, they don't want to fall by the wayside. So it's like, okay, we got to buy WhatsApp. We got to buy this Oculus thing that's going to be really cool in a couple years.
Because that's the catch with these social sites, is it only works if everyone's using it.
Right, exactly. And the idea of giving up market share in terms of how much time people are spending is a direct loss to Facebook in terms of how much advertisement money they're going to get. So it's like, we have to not only stay relevant just because it's the cool thing to do, and like that's how a popular product works, is that they have to stay afloat, because if they don't have the shit that the reason why people went to Facebook is because that was the hot thing. If they're not the hot thing, then they have a ton of people on their network. It's maintaining that and helping it grow. Yep. And like, what do? You got to fucking search out for IPs that are coming out that aren't going to be hot next year. They're going to be hot in a couple years. So you got to. It's they know better than I am. Not any I never went to business school.
They're just staying alive. They're just into that. It's that big business bullshit, staying alive.
Right.
I mean, that's all it is with that point, man. Like.
I still think Oculus. I'm still excited to fucking mess with one. I guess they had their second developer kit at GDC, and it was a marked improvement over the first. And they still say it's way better than the first. And the first was more on par with Project Morpheus was more on par with the first iteration of the Oculus Rift.
Right.
Where the second developer kit is supposed to be like just awesome, like. They got the lag down, and that's one of the things that both Project Morpheus and pretty much any kind of VR
that's
have.
The biggest
There's that latency issue. That latency issue, it leads to motion sickness, and so it's whoever can nail that first and get almost zero latency, as close to perfect as you can. They're going to be the ones that are going to get the bigger market, purely because technically it's not making people puke.
But I mean, that's something that's going to happen anyways, because like to a certain point, the latency also comes up to the connection you have in your place. So you're gonna.
Well, no, not so much latency with like playing people online, it's the direct latency between what's
Your
computed,
movements?
it's what's computed on the what's computed and what's sent to the Oculus.
Okay.
So it's got to be this this loop of Oculus
Internal
picks
latency.
up where you're moving your head, that goes to the computer and comes back to you and displayed. Like there's time that needs to be taken there. It's got to actually physically go to the fucking computer, compute relative where your head is and shoot it back. And that's just with faster computers, it's going to happen better. With higher refresh rates on the monitors, it's going to become better. But it's whoever really nails that. And I think that Sony, what's really exciting about the idea of Sony having their own VR is that Project Morpheus is going to be backed by some of the best developers in the world in terms of like Sony's in-house gang are fucking crazy. To see what Gorilla's going to do next, to see what
well, also Sony's one of those companies that if you look at everyone they're parented up with in that family,
their
that
umbrella
corporate
stuff,
their umbrella, like there's a lot of firepower there.
And
whether you're getting into movie direction, whether you're getting into gaming.
Oh yeah, and it's going to be one of these mediums that really crosses over. I think that Sony knows that. They know media, and they know, especially with the demos they gave, which were actually probably the coolest part about their demonstration. It wasn't like everybody's seen the Oculus videos, or not everybody, but most people have seen the videos of Oculus, or doing the roller coaster. They see their grandma falling over in their kitchen because their 20-year-old son got a development kit. The Sony ones were really cool because they were all or the first one was one that was demonstrated on the Oculus as well, and it's come a bit of a way. It's made by the guys that make EVE Online and Dust 514 for the PlayStation 3. I think they're called CCP.
Okay.
And they made a shooter akin to like TIE Fighter or something like that. So it's a space shooter. And what's really cool about it is that it head tracks really well, and so you're flying and you're looking around your cockpit, and and so you target them by actually visually seeing them. So you can be they don't have to be right in front of your reticule to get it. You just look at them and that will track them, and you shoot a missile curve to go get them. And it's really it's supposed to be awesome.
That's gonna be the thing that's killing, like that 360 view in cockpits and stuff. You want to hand me that cord?
Yeah.
They're
so that was cool, and then they had another one that nobody had seen, and it was made specifically for it, and that was a Shark Tank demo where you're standing in a Shark Tank, and because they have several IR sensors in the front and back of the display, when you crouch and stuff, it all picks that up with the PlayStation Eye, and they said it was just incredibly immersive, and one of the biggest reasons why VR is going to be dope is the idea of the sense of presence, feeling like you're there. And so people, it didn't have as wide of a viewing angle as Oculus. It didn't have as nice monitors, but it just, the sense of presence based upon what the developer, you just felt like you were there because of the idea of standing and the audio quality and the animation of like the shark and stuff. They said a lot of people were like, that was one of the coolest looking fucking sharks I've ever seen. Like just in terms of how it was animated and textured.
How realistic.
And the fish and stuff. Everything was just supposed to look awesome. And so that's the idea, is that the same thing with like graphical. People are always like, PC's the best for graphics, and that's definitely true. But artistic ability is what sucks you in, Like I play Metal Gear Ground Zeroes on a PS3, so it's like half the frames, and then it's at a lower resolution, 720p as opposed to 1080p, and it runs at 30 instead of 60. But it's still an immersive experience,
Yeah.
So,
well, I mean, that's something that's been proven time over time. It's like the very best possible doesn't necessarily always give you the best product. Well, I mean, look at how many, like music-wise, like there's always a time where someone comes in, they're super lo-fi, or it's super basic. It's not, it's not the best work, stuff like that, and it just works.
Right.
I mean,
no, true. Like Stomp, for instance, right? You can make you could fucking bang a basketball on a trash can and make some dope music. I think one of the things they have to maintain is that 60 frames per second. They have to make sure it's locked at 60 frames per second, because when that starts dipping on you, that's what fucks you up. And that was the cool thing about the idea of Oculus, is a wider viewing angle. You can have a really powerful rig behind it, so you can make sure you're rock steady at 60. It's going to require developers on PlayStation 4 to kind of drop some of the graphic fidelity just to maintain the display of two images. And they have to keep it at 60. They have to keep two pictures at 60 frames per second. Well, shit. Maybe they can do some cloud shit. I'm not sure. If they can offload something
I mean,
you know,
it's all gonna come down to honestly hardware with that, because I mean, what you're talking about is internal latency.
No, I'm like, I think, you know, you have the buffer that comes and displays images to your face, but the like having like the idea of like how GTA works in terms of streaming like parts of the city, and same thing what Metal Gear's doing is streaming. You have a huge thing and just doing really smart streaming. And if you know most of your computing is happening to try to display what's on the Oculus or on your VR set, you can offload some of it to the cloud where it doesn't need to be like right there, you know.
Right.
Just offloading it something somehow just to make sure you could still be graphically relevant. Like as much as I want VR, I'm not sure if I would still enjoy it if it looked like PS3 graphics, you know. I'm sure it would be good, but it's like I need super frame rate and stuff.
Yeah, it needs to be smooth, because like you said, like nothing would be worse than you going putting it on and it feeling like you're in a game.
Right.
Like that would be the worst thing. I mean, because then you would just be like, dude, I'm wearing this goddamn headset. Like, I'd rather just like play my video games, like, because you feel like you're in a game and it's not that smooth, like 100% freedom. It takes that freedom away, which takes away the belief in it.
Yeah, that
you
presence,
know, I mean, it
gets lost as soon as you miss a frame.
Yeah, because it's a little reminder of not real.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You get a perfect audio and crazy HD textures, but like as soon as you start losing frames, like normal vision isn't like that.
How big of a buzzkill is that gonna be?
Oh,
when you're wearing the Rift and then all of a sudden like everything goes white and it says something like game error.
Yeah, right.
First time that buzzkill.
The first time your game crashes, you're gonna be like, no.
Oh God! Like
how disorienting too. Like
I know, that's what I'm saying. It's gonna be like a little mini breakdown.
I was just thinking how crazy with like the Oculus especially to do. You know, we were talking about Eternal Darkness. Mm-hmm. To have like a really accurate representation of like a place, like walk through a hospital and see stuff start melting away and like into things, like and you know, track the player's head so they know like how long you've been looking at it.
Yeah.
And so now it had to like change it back real quick. Like what the fuck was that?
Well, I mean, all these reality bending things. Like, what if you go on like
glitches in games in VR are gonna be fucking retarded.
Yeah.
Can you imagine just seeing like in Skyrim a fucking or like mammoth flying overhead.
Or you're talking to this guy getting in a deep conversation in the game, and then his neck just starts twitching left, right. Like there's some guy in the corner just stuck in the corner going back and forth, but it's a real person. Right. That would be terrible.
Or when you when you clip through the ground and like fall for the, like, you know, eternity through blackness, like how crazy it's gonna be if you accidentally like touch something wrong and you're like your world spazzes out.
Dude, think about fucking up on Portal.
Oh God!
In VR, where it's just that
fucking nuts.
That's gonna be when you puke. No, those are the games I'm excited about. Like you're saying, the ones where it bends reality. Like even if you go of concepts of like, yeah, give the game a Paper Mario thing. You're gonna be chilling like right now, and then you're gonna go like this, and the imaginary page is gonna come out, and you're gonna walk into another world.
Right.
God,
it's gonna be fucking cool, man.
Once again, get into it. How's your brain gonna handle that? We've been there. Totally, man. So I was like a little bit unclear on that when we were talking about NSA and like stuff like Facebook and Riv. Like, so are you not really worried about that privacy thing, or?
You know, part of me is pissed because it's, you know, I believe that people do have the right to privacy, but the fact that I signed something for a company and I'm uploading all this shit voluntarily.
But it's for something like they hadn't done yet. Like, you didn't even know that was what we're getting into, and then it's just like, you're in it.
Well, it's like
the 360, not 360, I'm sorry, Xbox One, like, that really kind of weirds me out. Like, it's cool. Buddy of mine is like, yeah, dude, check out this workout program, P90X on it and stuff like that. But the fact that this Go automatically upload your user ID based off doing a face recognition, off that camera, that's weird. 2, sees in the dark. 3, like, sees in the dark because of its IR technology. Mm-hmm. So, like, while you're working out, it's not only being able to perfectly track you, but see where it's getting warm and stuff like that. It's
yeah, they could tell if you're breathing and stuff. But I mean, you have cameras everywhere now. Like,
yeah, you do. Like, but in your living room.
Got a camera in my pocket all the time that I'm always pointing on my face.
But you
got a camera in your on your computer, so it's like, you know, there are. I I feel like in the future we're gonna be surveyed more often by like things you buy. It's knowing who has access to information that I care about. You know, that's the biggest thing is that, and that's my responsibility to read the agreements. If it's fucked up when people are like, they're like, hey, we're gonna change this, and they're pretty vocal about it, and they do, and then people are pissed. And or before like the uproar happened, when people discovered they were like snooping on people's mail and shit like that.
Yeah.
It was like, you should have read the fucking agreement, because in there it did say that they could take liberty to do that. Like, you just assumed that they weren't, and you were dumb. Like, we should all read the user agreements we sign. A lot of people don't understand the idea that modding, why is modding my phone fucking illegal? Like, why is that a bad thing to do? It's like, because you don't own your fucking phone. You own a license to operate your phone. You don't own the internal stuff. You don't own the operating system. You own the license to use it. And so that's why they can come fucking knock on your door and arrest you for modding pretty much anything that's electronic nowadays. There's a lot of stuff that isn't illegal, but there's also a lot that is.
Yeah.
So
and I mean, that's the thing everyone needs to be aware of, and you always become aware of it through like either it's too late situations because it just comes up. But we need to have a re-understanding of the world we live in, because things, we've talked about this also, are not so physical like they were to you don't own this is a usage thing, stuff like that. It's we're at a term right now where ownership is being redefined.
Yeah.
To where and because of all these products we have that we pull so much up from are such an integral part of the thing. Because, I mean, even if a person was reading the user agreement on Facebook and saw all that stuff, you think they would be like, oh, well, no, I'm not going to do it.
No, because
because it's almost like a necessity now at life, where it's like, well, no, because, I want to fucking talk to my aunt in Louisiana.
Well, I like the idea of a more connected, integrated world. I like the idea that my phone talks to the TV and talks to I like the idea that I can point my camera at a building in a city and know who made the fucker. Like,
But it sucks the fact that more so than ever, it's like, yeah, no, I like this, and I'm willing to deal with these motherfuckers I don't trust because of it. Like, it makes everything, and this is going to, not a deal with the devil, that's way too melodramatic, but in order to get all these things that make life great and stuff like that, you have to get in bed with these fuckers you don't trust.
Yeah.
That's
and I think
shitty.
the idea of, like, believing that they're inherently evil because they're that big of a company is just kind of
no, not inherently evil.
I think a lot of people do feel like that though, like.
But not inherently evil, but mistrustful based off questionable actions.
And that's what Notch feels like, right? Like Notch is like, well, I made this game and fuck you, it'll come to PlayStation. I trust them more.
Yeah, and that's actually, if you think about like, more so than just how it seems, that's actually a really huge statement. That's a hell of a ballsy stance to make.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one that, like we've been saying, 90% of the world's not when they click deny on the user agreement.
Right. Notch definitely reads his user agreements.
What's that?
Notch reads his user agreements.
That's something we're not realizing is user agreements are becoming the contracts of today. Like, beware signing that contract, read it through. I know it scares you. And they, all that small type and stuff. So they try
try to fill it with as much technical jargon as possible to make sure. I think it's funny because at the same time it's like, man, I can't read this shit. It's like, well, they have to almost talk in these terms to clearly define what the fuck's going on, because you can't be like, well, you can use it, but fucking don't do this. Like, they have to be incredibly precise with their wordage to make sure that when it gets to court, it's clearly defined terms in terms of how the user and how the supplier of the product are supposed to react and act with each other. That's when it sucks, because you read these user agreements and they're just like fucking boring and just
and to be able to get into it and
seemingly
understand and really pick the fine hairs of like, no, I'm cool with this, but the way they word this, stuff like that, you really have to understand that legal language. You have to understand that world in order to be able to read it. But honestly, who's gonna get the opportunity, unless you do a whole lot on your own, to like really understand that language, which, like we're saying right now, is a huge part of your life, unless you're going into a law class. I mean, that, like, I feel if this is something that's going to be that big part of our world, then perhaps our curriculum needs to change a little bit. I mean, our curriculum needs to change. People are like, oh, we'll have website building because times are changing and have curriculum for high schoolers and stuff go. All right, that's great because that's a tool out there. But, I mean, you need to have that base stuff to go and navigate.
I think a lot of parents need to be more wise on it. I think a lot of parents get their fucking 15-year-old a phone and then they download Twitter and Facebook
but
and
I
shit.
think a lot of this stuff isn't even a question of, like, kids dealing with it. It's just they're using language operating in a world that you're just going to pass over little parts because very few people, no matter of age, have training and being able to understand that.
Right.
In a time span less than 2 hours.
Yeah, and maybe there needs to be a class like similar with like home economics, being able to balance your checkbook. You should be taught the pros and cons of social networking and giving yourself to the internet. And I think I haven't stayed up early on the average curriculum for a middle schooler, but I would hope that there's some kind of talk that happens. I'm sure they don't give a shit because I know I wouldn't when I was like 13.
Yeah.
Be like, fuck this dude. Like, I'm doing what I want.
I don't know. If you're doing some sort of like, if I'm teaching like some sort of living in the multimedia world class, something like that, you could find a way to make that shit interesting.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That shit you could totally make interesting.
Definitely.
Like, do you want to be that fucking floaty guy in the Matrix? Then listen to this shit.
Right.
No,
I agree.
I don't know. It's like driver's ed. Also being a part of being an aware multimedia consumer.
Keeping you safe.
Yeah, exactly.
Just the tools to keep yourself safe and acknowledge the dangers.
But it doesn't help but like, I mean, that's the thing when you talk about the world we live in and who decides it and deals with it, it doesn't, how does that really benefit like I hate saying shit like this. How does that benefit the powers that be of people being able to read that? It doesn't. Like, same thing, like, how useful would a class be where it's knowing your social rights, understanding your social rights and applying that to life? That would be really good. Like, that's something you kind of know because how many times you heard people talking on the ass where it's like, oh, no, it's not illegal because, like, my door's open. Or, little things that make it legal versus illegal. Yeah, that would be things like talk about helping with street smarts, talking about helping understanding situations, reacting great. What's that going to create for your governments? That's going to create a lot of court. It's going to create a lot of hearings. It's going to create a lot of problems.
When people don't know they're being done wrong, they don't make any noise about it.
Yeah,
which is start giving people
these are all things
that
help
shit.
make a better society, but they don't help running those societies or running those worlds easy.
Right. Google just recently said they're encrypting all email now.
Really?
And, I don't know how much that matters in terms of what the NSA has in encryption breaking software, but Google is taking a pretty active stance, being like, fuck this shit. Like,
well, that's the one thing Google's always been about is like
sometimes they've been in the same bed with the NSA though too. Like,
yeah, they have. But like, really interesting thing is going and kind of looking at the article trail between China, U.S., Google, like the way Google operates and all that stuff is really interesting. Like, not, and like I'm saying, not like, they're like, oh, we're not going to do that sort of thing, but like they make themselves in all those like little cyber wars between China and the U.S. just as big of a player, if at times not a bigger player, than the actual countries. Like, they're pretty fearless when they're saying yes and no.
Yep.
Which I always think is interesting with them.
Well, because they have a lot of people that really support the shit out of Google, and then they're such a huge part of everybody's day-to-day stuff in terms of like just trying to search for something on the web. I think the majority of people probably Google's got to be the
like,
biggest.
You remember
still.
the internet without search engines?
Yeah, I remember my first search engine. I mean, like, the internet's always kind of had like a search engine. I remember using, but like the old ones like Ask Jeeves and Webcrawler, and even before that,
terrible.
Webcrawler is probably like 92 or 93, and then there was a couple other ones.
I just remember using
Netscape.
like the, yeah, I was going to say the Netscape search engine. I remember using that. But you remember like before like those search engines were super usable?
Oh,
I remember
Google
having to do
was the first
reports.
one to crack that big algorithm and make
exactly.
decent to look for stuff.
Like if someone told you about a website, you would have to be there with a piece of paper,
fucking HTTP,
and making sure it's a slash and not a backslash. Yeah. You know, like that. It was a game changer because now it's like, nah, dude, just type in "kick-ass life," it'll come up.
Yeah.
You know.
No, exactly, and that's what was so weird about back then is that you had a www.freefeet.com.
You don't need www.
No, you don't need it anymore.
www creator. No, apparently it was one of those things that you never needed it. One of the
some engines needed it.
Oh, okay, it's the engine. Okay.
Sometimes it was like that first command line, like, hey, what do you want me to do with this? Like, do you want me to go here? You just like, so that was www World Wide Web dot fucking blah 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 dot, and they have like prefixes because World Wide Web wasn't used sometimes for like, just certain websites and like. I don't know. There's this whole weird thing with the .com, .org, .net, .eu, .gov.
Yeah.
Like it's weird to think about those and think about what kind of networks exist that aren't.
It lets you know how complex a network has gotten.
Everybody's just really simple. Like net, com, and org are really easy for everybody, and gov. But there's just got to be some pretty dark net shit that's out there, like
Oh yeah, like
fucking dildos or something, something weird.
Like
faces.dildos.
Yeah, .um, the underground market addresses.
That's where you can buy kids' shoes for half off and fucking machine guns and weird shit.
Yeah, with the kid's foot still in the shoe.
Yeah, right?
That sort of shit.
Where are we at here time-wise, buddy?
I think we're probably getting there. Yeah, I don't know, kind of went off some tangents. Dude, cool stuff that's coming up. Now that we're wrapping it up. April 30th, you still got this Battle Royale.
Yep.
Chinky, Nobe, unique, intricate, blood, sweat, tears, awesomeness.
It's going to be
at the hop.
Fun.
And then...
is it the hop or is he doing it at...
It's at the hop.
Is it?
Yeah, it's at the hop April 30th, probably around 7. Just go the night of April 30th. It'll start sometime. It'll be good. You can hang out in the hang out in the patio, have a lovely time.
The grotto. That's the nicest anything's ever been said about the...
Coining
they have a grotto there?
No, it's a grotto. That's no longer. We're coining that shit. The
it's
hop grotto.
The hop grotto.
Yes, I want my check, TC. That's going down. Also, 420 show. Headyworks is putting it on. The Percolator there. Paper cutouts dancing at that shit over at the Lincoln Center. That should be sweet. See if maybe we could sneak in during a DJ set. Fucking come with mics ablazing and be all stoned and fuck shit up.
Yeah.
Fuck it.
Yeah, I'm excited for this battle. I've been thinking about it.
Have you?
Yeah, I mean, it's like preparing for like a little relay race or something. I feel like I just got to get, the training regiment down for a couple weeks and get.
You ever need a sparring partner? Holler at me.
No, for sure. I had Amato come over yesterday and we chilled out, showed him some Metal Gear, and we rapped for a bit. And it was weird. After being up for 36 hours, it was either I was like spitting super cool shit or I was just babbling. Like,
man, Amato must be one of those cats when you're up for 36 hours where it's like not hard to talk to you, but just from stuff I've seen coming out of that dude where it's like, all right, been up for 36 hours and this guy's going to show up and his mental game's going to be sharp.
Yeah, no, he comes with this shit prepared. He's fucking got it.
When's that dude hitting up open mic?
I hit him up about it and he's fucking
get him in.
Doing the shit. I know. I'm going to send him an email here.
All right, cool. All right, I'm Sam.
I'm Nobe.